Hello, good afternoon, absolutely everybody that is tuning in this afternoon. I really wish there was a jingle that I could play here to really make it entertaining. Din, 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 pow. Well, how's that for a jingle? Welcome to welcome to the very first episode of our new Makers podcast. It's titled Changing Lives, a Makers Changing Lives podcast. The reason why we called it that is because ultimately we believe it. We believe that we change lives, and we know it's a very, very bold statement. We know that it's very, very big. But hopefully with this medium we're able to demonstrate how much we care, because we know that you care about people changing their lives. So hopefully you feel inspired, you feel motivated to do something, or in fact you might just find some really valuable insights and learn something that you may not have known previously. So the really awesome thing that I'm excited about is we're going to have a number of really cool people that are going to be joining us on this journey to share their perspective, their insight, their wisdom as well, to again add value to you. So hopefully you really, really enjoy this journey with us, and yeah, come on board. It's going to be amazing. So enough rambling on about all of that. My name is Joseph Charm. So I'm one of the partnership managers here at Makers, and speaking very, very briefly on my journey, it's been an absolute incredible one. It's been fantastic since I've joined. This is probably one of the rare organizations that really care at the core about what they're doing. That's not to say that they don't exist. We know there's loads of organizations that exist, but I'm just really, really glad that I found one of those organizations. So that's me. And today's very first episode is all about diversity and inclusion. Does it even matter? Does it even matter in tech, right? It's a very, very brave, brazen question to ask. But to really help me unpack that a little bit, I've invited someone who I think is really, really inspirational, who really encapsulates the journey of someone who has experienced a bunch of things, and more than experiencing a bunch of different things, but actually have overcome a lot of obstacles to be where they are today. Sharon, who is from the organization Orbit. So please give a warm welcome, round of applause at your laptop. I know we can't hear you, but you can hear us, to the amazing, the incredible, the wonderful, the fabulous Sharon. See, I've thrown you under the bus now.
Hello. I know. What an intro. I need you as my hype person. Thank you. Thank you.
How are you?
Good. I'm happy to be here and to be part of the conversation.
No, awesome. I'm really, really excited to have you here as well. Honestly, when we first interacted, I just thought actually perfect for the first one, right? You are a Black woman who, I don't need to preach to you about diversity and inclusion.
Yeah.
I don't need to. You are it. You are.
Thank you.
With that being said, like, I just wanted to kind of throw it back to you and understand, what's your journey? Who are you? What's it like? How did you get into tech? Tell us about Orbit, your organization, because guys, she's CEO, right? She's the CEO of her own startup, which is any founder / CEO will tell you how difficult and crazy it is to do something like that. So props to you there. But yeah, tell us about the journey.
Okay. Hello, everyone who's watching. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you, Joseph, for inviting me. Yeah, my name is Sharon. I was born in Ghana, and I've lived between Ghana, Canada, and the UK. So if you're wondering where my accent's from, it's a mix of all three. And if any of you can hear a bit of like a Nigerian accent as well, you're not going crazy. It's there. But yeah, anyway, yeah, I created a company called Orbit. And before all of this, I worked in the arts market for about 8 years, working with galleries and museums. And I knew I wanted to do something that would impact a large number of people, with innovation. And so when I decided to learn how to code and start testing ideas, it was really to try and create something that could really impact our group. So I guess I'll explain a bit more. Orbit is a 3D visual builder for users, creators, businesses to design and make 3D immersive showcases. Our vision is to democratize access to 3D design tools. We want to make it easy for anybody, wherever you are, to be able to go online, select a template, build a showcase, and in doing so, remove the barriers that a lot of creators have in being able to show their work. So up until now, if you want to show something, maybe you would rent a space, maybe you spend like hundreds of pounds or dollars to rent a physical building, you try and create a showcase, or maybe you would create a website, but it really wasn't as interactive as you needed it to be. And so we're looking to kind of bridge that gap and make it easier for creators to take control of how their work is presented and sold. So that's really been the summary of it. It's been a really interesting journey. I keep saying, the past year especially has been quite transformative. Of course, as a Black woman in tech, you go through a lot of ups and downs and obstacles, and definitely even this time last year was very different from, what we're going through right now. Definitely a lot of rejections. Talking to angel investors, talking to VCs. It's been definitely an uphill climb.
Yeah.
But the number one thing I would say is being able to hone in on, really what you're looking to do, focus on your mission,
Mm.
and being resourceful has been the biggest blessing.
Yeah.
Looking at ways in which I could get the right support has been really, really key to staying focused.
Wow. Awesome. Wow. 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 Wow.
Is
Wow.
that good?
Like good. You're making me. How can I invest? How do we get involved? So listen, share it. If there's anything, please, like, if there's any materials that you can post out there as well, that to
Mhm,
get it up, like, I'm sure everybody that's listening would be more than happy to support as well. It sounds like a really awesome initiative. So let's dive into it, right?
mhm.
You've come from Ghana, as you say, and being a Black CEO, and like, does it matter? Does diversity and inclusion matter? Like,
It does. It actually does.
mm,
In many ways, diversity of experiences, diversity of perspectives can also bring diversity of ideas.
mm,
When we talk about, for example, creating accessibility for, let's say in our case, for creators to design exhibitions, that comes from somewhere. It comes from a personal experience with not being able to maybe, for example, host a physical show, or maybe understanding the challenges that others go through, and through that creating innovation. And so definitely diversity is essential, and actually a lot of reports show that even when you think about gender, a lot of women-led businesses tend to perform quite well. I would say better than the male counterparts, statistically anyway. So
yeah.
definitely, there's, I think diversity can make a huge difference between what we're seeing now and what it could be.
Yeah, awesome. No, it's a really interesting one, right? It seems like a really obvious question that we shouldn't have to be asking,
Hmm.
right? We shouldn't have to be like, oh, does it matter? It should just exist. Um, as in, it shouldn't even be a discussion. Like, why
Hmm.
why is there such a push for, this new wave of, oh no, well, actually no, we should all be, it should just be that, right?
Right.
Like, our CEO said something really powerful at an event we ran last year, for women in software, and she said that, although I'm really happy that you're all here, I'm not happy that you're all here. We shouldn't be celebrating
Hmm.
women in software, because it should just be a normal thing.
Right.
It shouldn't be a thing where not many people are involved, or disenfranchised communities aren't able to get certain access to things. It shouldn't be that way. But we know that that's the obvious thing, right? But the reality is that it still needs to be spoken about, because there are still a lot of people who don't actually understand that, right? Who don't
Hmm.
understand the challenges that come with, being a woman in tech, or being, someone from, an underrepresented ethnic background, for
Hmm.
example. Like, there's just, they don't get it, right? It's almost like, I remember having a conversation with a friend, Um, and this was all around the George Floyd instance, right? A lot of people became more aware, and which is awesome. But I remember him saying that, oh, I don't see color, right? Which is a big one that I'm sure you've heard or
Yeah.
experienced, right? Which is related to racial diversity. And I remember, if you don't see it, then you don't see me,
Right.
because it is what it is, right? I
Mhm.
am black. Like, let's not pretend. It's all well and good in a utopian society. Fantastic.
Mhm.
That's how it should be, and I agree with you. That should never
Mhm.
be the case, but it isn't like that. And so things need to be done and put in place to make sure that, um, if you can see me, you're able to change things. You're able to spot where things aren't right.
Yeah.
I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So, what
Definitely.
go ahead. So what has it been like for you, um, in terms of some of the challenges that you've faced specifically on your journey? What has that been like? Or what's been
Mhm.
the most challenging thing that you've kind of experienced or felt?
Wow. Where do I start? I think in general, it's been about access to opportunities. Oftentimes it's not even that, we can't do it. It's just that there aren't opportunities to grow, to learn, to thrive, or even to apply the skills that are developed, right?
Mm,
So, for me personally, I mean, I didn't have the opportunity to even, you know, have like maker's tech. I taught myself how to code. So I was Googling, I was watching videos, I was really just going through it myself on an individual basis. And, with more awareness and access to training opportunities like this, it would have been so much easier to develop these skills.
mm,
And even when you look, let's say, beyond that into, let's say, running a company, access to funding, statistically they said in 2021 only 2% of companies funded were women founded. 2%. 2%, that's women, let alone black women. I mean, I remember waking up in the morning and watching this video on Bloomberg and thinking, this is women in general. Where do I sit? It's really
mm,
challenging, and I think when you get rejection after rejection, it can be challenging. But where there are opportunities where people are making a conscientious effort to support the talents of diverse groups, it becomes much better. And so it's just about access to opportunity to also do the same as your counterparts. And I think that's where I've seen that it can make a real difference. And so for me, even having the support of particular people who are allies, who make who really go beyond for me, that has really made a big difference. And so I think that's also what we need to discuss in terms of how do we just create the space for diversity, because oftentimes that's really just where you can start.
yeah. No, awesome. It's really powerful that you mentioned that as well. Actually, I think allies is definitely a route that can definitely contribute to solving this problem, right? You can't do this alone. No one can do this alone. This is an everybody challenge, right? And I know sometimes when you are part of the kind of disenfranchised community, or the community that doesn't benefit from a lot of other privileges, it's a hard pill to swallow sometimes.
Mhm.
It's like, what do you mean? Like, we have to do this for every, like, I didn't cause this problem. You know what I mean? Why do I
Yeah.
need to put up with what people call the oppressor?
Mhm.
I don't necessarily agree with it, but like, just that feeling of we can do it ourselves. That's not
Mhm.
that's I personally don't think that's the way to solve that problem, right? And
Mhm.
different voices are so powerful, right? Because different perspective, like you said earlier on at the very beginning, around that diversity of thought, I mean diverse ideas, different
Mhm.
ways of approaching things and different challenges, right?
Mhm.
um it's really interesting. I didn't know that statistic about the women funded organizations being 2%.
2%. Yeah, it's crazy.
It is quite scary. We've got some more stats as well around the kind of disparities that relate to gender diversity. And 3% of women and girls say a career in technology is their first choice. Only 3%.
That is insane.
That is insane, isn't it? right? And these are stats produced by PwC. 78% of students can't name a famous woman working in technology, and 16% of women and girls have had a career in technology suggested to them. Only 16%. Now, here's where it gets really shocking. 48% of women in STEM jobs report discrimination in the recruitment and hiring process.
Mhm.
So one that is really kind of close to our hearts as well is this one here, right? Software hires have only increased by 2% over the last 20 years. It has only increased by 2% in the last 20 years.
I can't believe what I'm hearing. I
Insane.
can't believe this.
It's madness. It's
Yeah.
absolute madness. And it's so hard. Like, for example, we're like how I said, we're doing quite well from a diversity front, but just because we're running faster than a lot of other organizations, that doesn't necessarily mean that we're running very fast, right? And
Mhm.
we recognize that as an organization. We recognize that, and we know that there are a number of awesome organizations that exist out there that are on a similar sort of journey in trying to combat this change, and we're always open and welcome to having those sorts of conversations around what can be done more, right? Where's the balancing act? How do we change this? And one of the ways that we enjoy doing is partnering up with, you know, groups and different organizations that help us introduce diverse talent into people's organizations, right? So we work with Code First for Girls, Code in Black Females, makers. We work with all of these awesome organizations that are happy to partner up with us and say, look, we've got a bunch of diverse candidates that really want to get into tech, that really want to not just dip their toe in, they want to be developers. So and the reason why it's the stats were so shocking to me is because if you think about the world that we're living in now,
Mhm.
it's driven by tech.
Right.
It's
Yes.
by tech. So to hear that only 2% in 20 years is it's insane. I mean, what are your thoughts on it?
I mean, I think first of all, it's absolutely crazy that these stats are so staggering. It really impacts a lot of things. It impacts, like you said, tech is really the foundation of a lot of how we run as a civilization. So where you don't have diversity even in tech, that means that decisions on how we process information,
Yeah,
how businesses run, how people interact with each other,
yeah,
all these things are not diverse. Like, we don't consider diversity. And when we say diversity, it's even beyond, let's say racial or gender diversity. It's even things like neural diversity, there is sexual diversity, there is faith, beliefs, all of these different factors affect how we see each other, and how we treat each other. So it really also is down to our quality of life as humanity, if you want to get down to that.
yeah.
So
We're
yeah, I
getting
think it's
philosophical now, aren't we?
yeah, I think it's absolutely it's crazy. And I think for me, what motivates me, with Orbit and what we're doing is knowing that there's very little access to these opportunities, for someone of my background. I know that I have to work to create space and
Yeah.
make a way for people around me to also thrive and to also grow. And
Mm,
so it's also about building that sense of community,
mm,
building the space for people to contribute their ideas and their thoughts, and to
mm.
have that be seen and have that also impact the greater good. So it's more than tech and coding. It's also about the future and the future that we're trying to create.
So
Yeah.
feel that pressure then? Do
Sorry?
you do you feel that pressure?
Yes.
How do you
Yes, absolutely.
how do you deal with that pressure?
Well, in some ways, the pressure pushes me to work harder.
Mhm.
But it also has a negative side, which is that I am oftentimes very stressed out. A lot of my friends will get a text from me like, "Hey, I need advice, I need support." But yeah, definitely, I think it has its pros and cons. I recently did a pitch competition, and I was the only woman there, and that was a lot of pressure.
Mm,
But that pressure pushed me to work even harder to prep for that pitch competition. And I think the good thing is that, I mean, I won the pitch competition. So
mm,
I guess you could say it was good, but it also means that if I didn't, or if, it didn't go so well, I would have been very hard on myself. So I think there are pros and cons to something like that. And definitely it's also very inspiring and
mm.
encouraging to see other people who are, say, Black women in tech, for example, for me, to have that also as representation is much, much needed.
Yeah. And you touched on something really, really important around the different types of of diversity that
Right,
often at times can be overlooked, right?
right.
And I I wouldn't say it's from a place of cynicism, but it's more a case of, oh, out of sight, out of mind, and
Mm-hmm,
the voice isn't heard anywhere near as much as it should, right? So we're talking, like you said, neurodiversity,
mm-hmm,
and how set up our organizations to support their neurodiverse individuals or candidates, right?
mm-hmm,
How set up are these organizations to handle the different types of diverse people? Ultimately, I think a lot of organizations just defer to gender, race.
right.
Oh, it's gender. Oh, it's great. We've got black people in our company, and we've got some Asian people in our company. So we've done it, and then title it as BAME, and
Yeah, it goes beyond
woo!
that. It goes beyond that. Yeah.
And it goes well beyond that, and it's about, and that inclusion part is so important, right?
Mm-hmm,
It's so important. It's where are those voices in the organization?
right.
Where are those people in the organization, right? What positions do they hold, right? How much influence do they have in the direction of the business, in the direction of the organization, where we're going, right? Because that's also important. Like you mentioned, it's also inspiring when you see people that look like you,
Mm-hmm.
right, in senior positions. That keeps you going, that motivates you. Same as me, when I see a CEO that looks like me, I'm like, wow, you've come from
It's possible.
I'm gonna, yeah, like I can do it. Well, what, finally I can see someone there, right? I can only imagine the pressure when you're occupying that space that those individuals are holding on to, right? But it's such an important role because it's very difficult, and I'm a realist. I don't like to pretend. It's very difficult when you are in those sorts of positions, and you're experiencing it now, right? People are watching this and they're like, oh my gosh, awesome, she's a CEO. It's like, whoa. And in your mind you might be processing it like,
Yeah, it
God,
means I can't fail. It means I have to
yeah,
do everything I can. Yeah, not just for myself, but for others.
for others, right? There's going to be 1,000 people behind you. You're doing
Mhm,
it for the millions of people behind you. That's the thing. It's such a snowball effect when, no matter where you are, if you are the person that's taking that first step, you're doing it for the thousands, the millions behind you, because all it is someone else passes on what you've passed on to them, and then they pass it on to someone else, and then it eventually turns into something where we do, hopefully, fingers crossed, get to a point where it isn't a thing. It's just people. It's just humanity. It's just everybody is working in conjunction together. Now, I mean, how do we solve it from? I say solve it, right? Because that's huge. How do you boil the ocean, right? But how do you challenge yourself to get diverse candidates in your place of work? How do you try to have that in? Do you have it in mind? Do you use different processes, techniques? Talk to me.
Good question. I think it has to be an intentional thing. By default, a lot of the structures that we have in place are not equitable, they're not diverse. And so if we just go by the default, oftentimes you won't get what you need in terms of diversity. You have to seek out ways in which you can attract more candidates, you can attract applicants from a variety of backgrounds. I mean, for us, of course, working with you with makers, so that's one way to go. But I think also, I think also, in how you process applicants, being aware and sensitive to how the candidates might express themselves and allowing them to communicate,
Yeah,
effectively. So in processing the applications, just keeping an extra eye out, digging a bit deeper and really considering how the diverse backgrounds of each applicant can be a strength on your team. I think that's something to definitely keep in mind. So I
yeah,
think it's just about being more intentional. And then beyond that, once you do hire more diverse people onto your team, creating the space for them to be comfortable and to thrive. A lot of people think, okay, we need one black person, we need one woman, and then that's it. No, you need to make sure that once they join your team, that they feel accepted, they feel welcome, that you're not doing anything that makes them feel alienated, that it's
yeah,
not a toxic environment, that it's a very healthy space for them to thrive. That's
yeah,
absolutely important. I think a lot of organizations forget that and they think it's just about the numbers, but actually
yeah,
it's way beyond that. And one of the things I found is that by doing that more intentionally, a happy employee is going to give you their best. They're going
yeah,
to find new ideas, deliver great work, and it really makes a big difference in your output as well as a company.
yeah. Yeah, that's really powerful actually, that whole intentional piece, right?
Mhm.
What programs are being put in place to support them internally, what programs are being put in place to actually encourage people to apply, or get these people from those disenfranchised communities into organizations. One of the ways that where we've seen great success is through the use of apprenticeships, right? You've been doing apprenticeships with us as well, but apprenticeships are a really awesome way to get people in, to into tech, right? And for a number of reasons, right? Some people might not be able to afford to go on a course because their financial situation isn't great, because of where they're from and what their environments are like, and that whole earn while you learn concept is brilliant, right? Because they're able to study, they're able to grow, they're able to gain experience, right? Which is a big deal. They don't sit in front of in front of an an interviewer, and they say to them, "Oh, we need 10 years experience by the time you're 14." Like, those ridiculous, because we've all been in situations where it's
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
you had for a junior role, and like, well, this is
yeah,
anybody. So it's a fantastic way to really get people in, and the way we do it at Makers is we lean on not just our own experience as well, because we understand that different voices are necessary, right? And so we work with the different diverse groups that I mentioned. For example, Coding Black Females have a number of awesome women who are kind of learning and getting into tech, and they have their own mentorship programs, and sometimes we do sponsored places for them to get into, I guess, our pool of candidates. I don't like talking about people like this. We don't like talking about people, but getting all of these people in front of employers so they can see, actually, no, there is a whole community that really want to get into tech, but you're living example of it, right? You you taught yourself, and yeah, it's a big deal. But not everybody has the courage, the strength, the nowhere to go, the guidance, the support. And so, apprenticeships with us has been a really fantastic way to see diverse candidates in. Like, I think from a numbers perspective at the moment, 41% of our apprentices to date are female, and 49% are from underrepresented ethnic groups, right? And again, like I said, there's still work that we need to do, and we recognize that. And in terms of getting those numbers on how many are from the neurodiverse groups as well, from disenfranchised groups, like, and we're going to get to that place where eventually it's not a discussion. We're not celebrating it. We're not
yeah,
saying, "Oh, hey, like, we're the best." Like, no, like, we're just trying to do
yeah.
what we do. Sharon, it's been absolutely fantastic talking to you. It's been absolutely brilliant. I really, really hope that everybody that's listening kind of took stock of what you were saying from your experiences, what you're currently doing. Have you got, if actually, before we go, let me ask you this $1 million question.
Okay.
What would Sharon say to herself at 10 years old?
Ooh. Wow. Okay. At 10 years old, 10 years old, I would have told myself to have more courage. Um, I've always been fairly ambitious and hardworking. I got that from my parents, definitely. Um, but I think sometimes the outside world can say things to you or can send messages that you can internalize and then can start to affect your self confidence and how you view what you can do. So I would just have told myself to have more courage and probably do a lot of things that I'm doing now, but do them earlier or at least have started a bit earlier. But yeah, just have more courage and more faith in yourself.
Yeah, awesome. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Thank you very, very much. So for everybody that's listening, this was the very, very first episode. If you want to have a conversation about, how you can utilize apprenticeships as a way to funnel diverse talent into your organization, please feel free to reach out to me. It's the advice is free of charge. I'm not going to just speaking about it is a start, right? It's a step in the right direction. So reach out to us. My email is joe@makers.tech. If there's anything else that you want to say, like you just want to say hi to Sharon, please reach out. If you got an Instagram, if you got a Facebook, is there anything that you want to share with anybody?
Yes, I'm on Twitter and Instagram with Rose of Sharon O.
Oh, okay. I see.
It's biblical, eh?
Clever,
Yeah,
clever. See how you've integrated your faith in there as well. That's brilliant.
yeah.
So thanks very much for listening, guys. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon. Now I'm going to do our exit music.
It's pretty good.